All right, Mr. Vinod Aggarwal of Eicher Volvo joins us now to walk us through the impact of partial lockdown and how things would move. Mr. Aggarwal, good morning. Thank you for joining us. Now, 42% of the districts in India are part of the green zone, but they do not represent 42% of the economic activity. In fact, the red zone pockets and the orange zone pockets represent more than 65% of the economic activity. What is your sense? Do you think partial lockdown will help only little and the economic activity will not pick up as per, as a lot of market men are expecting? Okay, we've lost his audio there. Just bear with me, a little bit of audio connection there. Meanwhile, if I just turn back to markets now and look at the carnage, this is typically how markets move. The rise will always be slow and gradual and steady, but the fall is always very brutal, very large, and very excruciating. So it's like saying, you go up the sea slope, but you come down via the elevator. That's how markets move. Slowly, and then they come down again. Okay, Mr. Aggarwal, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, hoping that you can hear me. What is your understanding of the partial lockdown? Because it may represent 42% of India, but in terms of economic activity, the green zones do not even represent 30% of the economic activity.
As far as the auto sector is concerned, we are dependent on supply chain, and we get the parts from all over the country. Even if one supplier is not working, it means if one part is missing, you can't assemble the full truck. So therefore, for us, it is very important that the most of the zones have to be working where our suppliers are located. And today, I can tell you around 20 to 25% of our suppliers, they are still in the red zone. So therefore, I think it is very important that the suppliers, they start working in all the zones. And at the same time, we are also to activate all our dealerships because currently only around 30-35% dealerships are working. Therefore, even though we have got the permission to start our plants, but we cannot start making the vehicles. Right now, we are only trying to do some essential activities. For example, we have to dispatch parts, or we have still to dispatch the vehicles which are already lying ready with us. So we have to do that. And similarly, we have to also do the stock taking, or we have to do the maintenance activity. So right now, we are only doing these essential services. As far as the production is concerned, I think it will take still time till the time the entire supply chain and all the entire ecosystem is activated.
Okay. Do you think before the real demand will come in, inventory levels have to get cleared up? And inventory levels are already large in the system. So the real uptick will only come in the second half of this calendar year?
Good thing is inventory levels are not there because on entire BS4 stocks were exhausted. So therefore the inventory levels with the dealerships is almost negligible. And in the plants also the inventory levels are very low. As far as we are concerned, our inventory levels are extremely low. So therefore that's not the concern. The concern is we have to basically generate confidence amongst the customers and the dealers, and we have to restart this entire activity which is lying closed now for almost 1.5 months. So therefore, I think we have to spread the positives. There are a lot of positives. For example, rural economy I think is doing well, and there has been good harvest. There is expected to be good monsoon, and we are expecting good investments happening in the infrastructure. And at the same time, the industry is also working very closely with the government that how can we generate demand? How can we boost the demand? And that is also possible if we come out with 2 or 3 more steps from the government of India, like incentive-based scrappage policy, which can spur replacement of vehicles, or some rationalization in GST rates. So I think jointly working with the government, if we are able to create positive sentiments, if we are able to create confidence amongst the consumers and amongst the truckers, and then I think the thing will start moving up. So that's what we have to do.
Mr. Aggarwal, if you could just give us a sense, in terms of the outlook going forward, in terms of timelines that you're factoring in, the kind of estimated pickup you see perhaps later in the year. If you just give us a sense of really, how you are expecting things to shape up.
I think once the lockdown is lifted throughout the country, the things will start becoming positive, and then, as I mentioned earlier, if the government takes steps and if we are able to create confidence amongst the customers, I think things will start moving up. At the end of it, I think a lot of sectors, they are still doing all right, and there will be demand for movement of goods. So even though I think the GDP is expected to remain, either it will be very low or it might be negative also. So there will be definitely impact on the CV demand because the commercial vehicles are dependent on the economy. So therefore, I think it will mirror the economic growth. If the economic growth is impacted, you may see a difficult year, as far as this year is concerned. But I think going forward, the things will start improving day by day once we restart.
Okay, and in terms of production as well, give us a sense of the kind of capacity that's lying spare right now, whether or not you see it coming back to full stream, even by the end of the year.
As far as the capacities are concerned, I think there are more capacities in the industry. But at the same time, we are working on various scenarios. We have to see that if the demand is less, then how do we adjust ourselves? How do we cut down our costs, or how do we bring down our break-even points, so that even if the volumes are low, how do we cope up? And if the volumes are more, then how do we cope up? So we are working on both the scenarios. Like if there is some economic growth and the industry doesn't get impacted so badly, then of course, what will be our stance? If the industry gets impacted, then what will be our stance? So we have to be prepared for both the scenarios. And right now, the entire effort is to work on various scenarios. But at the same time, as I mentioned, we have to create a lot of positive sentiments amongst the customers. Because at the end of the day, if the sentiments are positive, people will start investing, people will start replacing their trucks. Definitely, it's a good opportunity because after BS6 has been implemented, there are better trucks. The trucks are more productive, and replacements have not happened in the last year. So there is a lot of pent-up demand. But the question is that if the customer is confident that he will get the load, I think they will be willing to invest in. And at the same time, I think a lot of steps have been taken to improve the liquidity. I'm sure some more steps will be on the way to improve liquidity with the NBFCs, because liquidity is also going to be very important. So if we work on all these things, I think the things will start falling in place.
Sure. And just finally a note on the supply disruptions, given that 80 to 85% of components for all vehicle segments are being sourced from clusters like the NCR, Pune, etc. How much have those disruptions really impacted the supply chain? How long will it take for normalcy to be restored? And even given that we've seen labor scarcity as well, these are some big challenges that you've been having to deal with.
Definitely the labor, they have migrated to their villages. But I think I see no difficulty in getting back the labor once we start the production, once we start getting the parts from suppliers. I think the bigger challenge is the supply chain. And definitely once, like for example, now we have got the permission to start our plants. This will put a lot of back pressure on the suppliers as well, on the entire ecosystem. So therefore, all the suppliers, they also must be trying their best how to open the plants with all the precautions, because definitely everyone has to take a lot of precautions. We have to learn how to live with this COVID, because this is going to remain. It's not going to go away. Definitely, even if the lockdown is lifted, all the precautions will have to be followed. Like, for example, social distancing is going to be very important, or the sanitizations of all the workplaces or all the buses where we are going to transport the staff. That's very, very important. Similarly, all the protective equipments like masks or all other face shields or various types of protective equipments, those are going to be very important. So all the suppliers also, they will be working on this, and definitely all of us have to learn to live with this situation. And I'm sure the suppliers will be taking all the steps to open, because they are also equally worried. They also want to restart the business, and So once the OEMs open, I'm sure the suppliers will open. So the things will start falling in place, and all the workmen, of course, we will be able to get them back.
All right. Thank you for joining us then this morning, Mr. Aggarwal.